It's time to pick out which specs would look best with your District 9 Unlock concert fits because we're adjusting our focus to appreciate how much work went into prepping for the kids' first official concert tour this week in the lead up to Chan's Room episode 46. I know, you know, we know, and Lee knows our kids work hard, but how often do we really pause to unpack that? We're headed back to November 2019, where Stray Kids are just days away from their first District 9 Unlock tour dates in Seoul. The hype in Stayville is real. Stays are counting down days, buzzing over their first official Stray Kids light sticks and poring over every detail of the newly released merch list. But they're not the only ones feeling the excitement. The kids hopped on V Live for a quick OT8 live this week, a 10-minute check-in to show off their new light sticks and walk Stays through the fan guide for the Stray Kids anthem. They've been working hard, but Skiji have been sharing adorable teasers to fuel the excitement this week too. And that excitement is actually really vital for the kids. We talk a lot about Chan's infinite power source, the sustainable energy passed between Stray Kids and Stays. But this is a moment in time where the energy that's being harnessed by the kids is almost palpable. Because when the final piece announcement dropped, revealing the staggered release leading up to Levanter, it became clear the entire Clay series was designed as a kind of launch pad, a foundation for the kids to propel themselves into the next phase of their careers. Stray Kids have done a staggering number of performances in their first year and a half post-debut, but they've never technically played a concert. Everything that came before this was a performance or a showcase. Even their original light sticks were called showcase light sticks. But here they are, at the beginning of the end of the Clay series, launching themselves into a new level of the K-pop industry, facing their first official concert dates, which would have been intense work under any circumstances. But it's time to put on our focus-shifting time travel specs, because we're looking at this through the lens of all we know now. Stray Kids has been through a major transition in the past weeks, going from 9 to 8, and we've already seen some of the adjustments they've had to make. But all of that pales in comparison to the massive effort it took to ensure their first concert dates went off without a hitch. We know the kids were preparing non-stop at this point, likely squeezing in rehearsals and adjustments into every spare moment they had, because the list of changes that had to be made is seemingly unending. The obvious ones stand out. Lines had to be redistributed, backing tracks re-recorded, and choreography adjusted, not just for Stray Kids, but for their supporting dancers too. At JYPE, VCRs were being edited, and stage managers worked with lighting designers and tech directors to adjust cues and effects. Every visual and stage element had to be reworked to fit the new dynamics, making sure the performance flowed seamlessly. A simple list doesn't quite get the entire point across though, because these were 3-hour-long concerts with a set list of 25 songs, many of which the kids had already performed so many times that their lines and choreography had become muscle memory. So they're not just learning something new, but unlearning what their bodies have already committed to memory. When so much of their signature choreography uses deliberately offset timing that relies on precision down to fractions of a second, even slight changes become huge. In effect, Stray Kids were preparing for a marathon, but this one was run on a tightrope, where every step, every move had to be recalibrated with perfect precision to keep their balance, all while carrying the weight of everything they'd been through, plus the uncertainty of what lay ahead. As time travelers, we know the kids were doing nothing but sleeping and working at this point. No downtime, no breaks. Stray Kids had spent years developing ways to recharge alongside Stays, but now they were pushing even those energy limits to the extreme. You'd think the guy taking lead on coordinating so many of these changes would be dedicating every waking hour to making them happen. And you'd be right, except there's an asterisk there. The exception, of course, was Chan's Room. If you look back through the V Live archives from this time period, you'll see how when everything else seemed to go quiet, Chan's Room was the steady pulse in Stayville that kept that infinite power source online. When we meet up with Chan in episode 46 this Sunday, October 13th at 11 p.m. KST to rewatch together, it's important to remember the exact context of how he's showing up to meet Stay. Amidst all this madness, he's fitting in extra episodes to make up for the ones he feels he's missed. Stays couldn't have known how packed Chan's schedule was back then, and we may never know the full story. But this Sunday we'll meet him in that orange studio, where we know exactly how precious the time he makes for us is. I'll see you then.